Red Sonja. Yeah, I picked up a look at Red Sonja on Tubi a couple of weeks ago, and uh, honestly, it was kind of what I expected it to be. I mean, you know, for starters, let's do a little history here. I have read a share of Red Sonja. I mean, I wouldn't call myself the biggest expert on the Red Sonja lore. This film, I'm pretty sure, does away with a lot of the lore. And I did see the original movie when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I thought it was cool. Arnold plays, I think, like a Conan substitute, because I think the rights were in different hands or what have you. So he really couldn't play Conan in a Red Sonja movie, but he played everything but Conan in name. And it was an interesting movie. Bridget Nielsen, I believe this came after Rocky Four, in sort of her biggest role, post Rocky Four at least. And I should check it out again, but I thought it was pretty good. Remembering it from when I was a kid. But this movie, it feels like, as I expected, and anybody that seen the trailer or parts of it would expect, it feels like a Sci-Fi Channel movie circa 2002. It's kind of old, early millennium, special effects and sets that are not particularly, impressive. We meet Red Sonja sort of as a nature girl. Her biggest concern is for her horse, and that's how it sort of begins the story. She's trying to get her horse back. The beginning of the movie basically deals with her as a gladiator, which I guess is their way of trying to explain how she became proficient in sword fighting. She surprisingly doesn't use the sword that much in the movie. For someone that was dubbed the She-Devil with a sword, she doesn't particularly use it very often in the film. And the villain was probably the biggest letdown. He's sort of like some pretentious little twit that, I kind of get what they were trying to go for here, but it really wasn't that interesting. He's sort of like an intellectual, and he wants to kind of break away from the old order of the barbarians basically running things, and he wants to sort of be a intelligent leader that is trying to take over the lands or what have you. Wallace Day, whom many may remember fondly from the series Krypton, shows up as the female antagonist, looking like Lady Gaga. So that was kind of disappointing, because she showed up on Batwoman 2 at a point, and she's a very lovely girl, and she's unrecognizable here. And she sort of gets a character arc. I guess I won't spoil it, but she really deserved more screen time. I kind of feel like I could say that for a lot of these characters, that they don't really give the characters that you want to see the screen time that you wish they had. And I'll leave it at that, because another character that I could say that to is Luca Pasqualiano. You might remember him as D'Artagnan in BBC's The Musketeers. He makes a welcome appearance as pretty much the only character with charisma in the movie. But again, he doesn't really get too much focus. He's very charismatic, very, the only actor really that you kind of want to see him hang around, and he leaves the stage fairly early on, unfortunately. He doesn't really stick around to make a big impression. I guess that's in order for Sonja to, carry the load on her own shoulders, which she does pretty well. Matilda Lutz, that's the name of the actress. Matilda Lutz, she does well enough in the role, I think, given what's offered to her. She only really starts to feel like Sonja in the second half of the movie, after the gladiator stuff. And but she's only required to glare stoically or repine over her horse. There really isn't a whole lot for her to do, acting wise. This is not really a lot of heavy lifting here. Besides Luca from Musketeers, her charges are just sort of central casting's answer to middle aged barbarians. I mean, it's like they got a couple of guys that tend bar and say, hey, take off your shirt and wave an axe around. And you know what I mean? That's just central casting. They didn't really put a lot of thought in, and then they had like, warrior women and so forth. I don't know. The extras weren't very convincing. Again, she's a pretty enough girl to make a decent Sonja, but she's basically covered in mud or extremely disheveled for most of the movie. So you really don't get to see her at her best. And this is a problem with a lot of movies. And we're going to talk about Supergirl in a little while. And it's the same thing there, too. I mean, I think it's purposefully done, but it's like the thing nowadays is to try to de-glam the actress so that she looks like she just got out of bed. You know what I mean? It's like you don't pay money to go see a movie and then you want to see the actress look like she just woke up. You know what I mean? You've got to, glam them up a little bit. Now, she gets her hair darkened in the last act because she goes through some kind of transformation, but it's still a far cry from the luxurious locks from the comic that she was known for. As you see in this image here, she gets her 10 minutes in the classic metal bikini, which is what she's known for. They end up putting her into more elaborate armor later, but she's basically in this only for a few minutes just to sort of amuse the crowd in the gladiatorial games. There's a pretty interesting scene where she fights a Cyclops. It's probably the biggest action set piece that's kind of amusing. The film ends with a post-credits tag promising a much more exciting sequel with Red in a tavern, drinking and doing target practice. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that sequel will probably never happen. I don't imagine this film did very well. I think it got a limited release, and it's on Tubi after like about 6 months. They probably should have led with that story. I don't know why we needed an origin of Red Sonja, especially when it's done this poorly. I would say this film reminded me mostly of the old Jonah Hex film, the one with Megan Fox. Because, it's not really accurate to the comics. It's not even really that good. But I feel like they had the framework there to make it a much better film if they had applied themselves. As it stands, they could make a better sequel. I would like to see a better sequel if they are still, willing to go through with that. I doubt it's going to happen. Originally on Twitter, I think I gave this one 2 stars out of 5. I am probably being a little generous with that. That's another one where I'm probably not going to watch this movie again. But again, I have some appreciation for some of the actors. I think Matilda Lutz was pretty good. Wallace Day was good, even though she didn't have much to do. Luca Pasqualiano, again, very charismatic. I'd love to see him more in the film or maybe return in the sequel. But as it stands, not great. I mean, if you really have nothing to do with your time and it's late and you can't go out and do anything else, you could throw this one on and, you'll probably forget it within the first 15 minutes. All right, so until next we meet, this is Johnnie Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.